let's get talking now. I have joining me the president of the Association of the University Lecturers, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke. He joins us here live in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
The other day we were trying to speak to you on virtually, but the connection was
It was raining
bad.
heavily in my place.
Oh, it was raining in Umar.
Yes.
Now, I guess you are very tired by now, fighting the federal government over this matter. Well, almost 200 days now. Is there a possible end in sight?
What we are doing is sacrifice we have to make for this country called Nigeria. Because a Nigerian with a collapsed universities education, it's a collapsed country, and we're almost there. So we will not be tired. We ensure that this system works.
So on the 1st of August, you said you extended the strike by 4 weeks.
Yes.
2 weeks is gone now. 2 weeks left in the 4 weeks that you have given.
2 weeks, yes.
Is there any communication from the government?
Well, we've not had any serious communication, although they have invited us for a meeting on one issue tomorrow, which is the issue of renegotiation. You know, there are several issues while we're on strike. They are inviting us for discussion on issue of renegotiation tomorrow. We don't know what they're coming with.
Renegotiation of what?
Renegotiation of the 2009 agreement.
Okay.
Which is one of the issues that started, this process started in 2017.
Of the payment
February.
of your wages.
It's not wages. You see, they are reduced to wages. It's not wages. It has to do with the system.
Accumulation and...
No. It has to do with funding, the structure, the autonomy, and other issues, and how to raise funds to fund the university. That's what you have in the agreement. But the government has seemed to be reduced to just salary alone. Because if they had looked at the whole content of that agreement and implemented it, they would not be talking about funding. That was how the issue of TED fund arose in 1992. But they don't bother. This said don't bother. They want to blackmail us with funding, with salary. If you look at the agreement, it encompasses funding. It involves the issue of autonomy, because every university in the world is autonomous body. You don't go and suggest university to the public service, the bureaucrats. That's what we're having the problem today. That if a vice chancellor wants to employ a renowned professor that will help him solve a problem, he has to go to the office of the head of service to get permission. And he goes there with the next 2 or 3 months, the man is there, and the man moves to Ghana. Move to another country.
So it's about renegotiation of the entire structure of the universities in Nigeria.
That is it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now let's take it one after the other. And I like you to be sincere with Nigerians who are watching tonight.
Sure.
One thing is whether or not there is capacity or the wherewithal to be able to answer to the questions that ASUU is bringing to the table. Another thing is whether or not there is sincerity in all of your negotiation over the last few months with the federal government. Do you see any human angle that has been brought to the table? Do you see any kind of sincerity on the side of government?
Thank you very much. You see, this negotiation started in 2017, and they appointed Babalaki as the chairman of the committee. And we spent more than 2 years, they not doing anything, trying to delay us and what have you, and that committee collapsed when Babalaki was removed as the VC of University of Lagos.
Yeah. And
Musa Jibril was appointed as another committee. And when they come to us, the first question we ask, do you have the mandate of government to negotiate this issue with us? That's the first question. And they will say yes. They will agree with us that we were set up by government, they had the mandate. But we finished with Musa Jibril in June 2021, May 2021, I'm sorry, May 2021, they were supposed to go back and say, give up permission to sign on your behalf. They didn't come back till we started this strike.
There's another committee, Bridge Committee?
Yeah, with this committee, they came back and said they don't accept that conditions and set up Bridge Committee.
So that's the third committee in about 4 years?
Third chairman, yes, over 5 years. Bridge, we also reached a goal with him. We also asked them, do you have the mandate? They say yes. Now, they said they have consulted with all the various agencies, Salaries and Wages Commission, Ministry of Finance, budget, that they have consulted, and they are coming back. We said, good, let's have, this is what we negotiate with Nimi Briggs. What are your issues with it? And bring the new proposals that you have to. And they brought, and we have it in writing from the government. And that this is what we say is okay, because we didn't want more problem. We said, okay, it's acceptable to us. And they said, it take us more than 2 weeks to finish. We said it's acceptable to what they brought back to us.
So what happened now? When you accepted it?
They said they are going back again to the government to get permission to sign. Fine. So, you know, if somebody negotiating, if a lawyer representing you, you will need to get your permission to this. And it went. Till now, they've not come back.
Let me, Prof. So,
yes. All we are hearing is on Facebook, social media, what have you?
Part of the funding that you are talking about, the government has said it will run into about ₦1 trillion. Now, I'd like you to, I played this for you the last time. This is what the Minister of State for Labor said, Mr. Festus Keyamo. Maybe we can also remind ourselves of what he said, perhaps that the federal government does not have money. I don't know if that goes down well with you and how you're receiving that. I don't know if we can remind ourselves about, okay, so we'll play that just in a moment. How does that come to you?
For me, it is very sad. You see, if you have a will, you can get whatever you want. 30 years ago, nobody believed that you have TV station running for 24 hours. 30 years ago, you didn't believe you have a TV station 40 years ago that will run without stop. CNN, that will, without stop. 30 years ago, nobody believed that person will pick a phone in Nigeria and call somebody in the US. These were done by the academics. And two, issue of financing. If you have a will and you believe education is important, the government will raise any amount to the look, there's a government that are giving 400 billion naira into that money. So is it trader money, whatever they call it? That is more than what we are asking for. This is a government that I believe what we are trying, they said they need 200 billion to feed school children, to feeding. I don't know who is being fed, I've not seen. But they release 200 billion. That is more than what we are asking for revitalization fund. So it's not about, it's just people, no.
So you don't think that the government is sincere?
It's not.
You think the money is there?
Let me put it straight. What we have told them is in the disagreement, and it has been there over a long time. Give appropriate budget allocation to your educational system. Forget about the quantum time. Give a percentage. In Ghana, they give no less than 16%. In South Africa, they give no less than 60%. Check all value for Nigeria have the lowest, 5.3. And we say give 50%, as others are doing. Give priority to education. And they will say they don't have money. Let's forget about quantum. Let's look at the reality that education is one thing you are going to look at that will change your country. But they are not interested. That is the problem. It's not about the quantum. As I speak to you, if you watch it in about 1 month, since July, if you found out our exchange rate went high, you are aware. You know why? It's when Nigerian people are paying school fees in foreign countries. It's the massive amount of foreign countries that they needed to pay school fees outside the country that you had that massive exchange rate increase. And now it's coming down because they have paid. You are seeing the graduating now. You are seeing their children graduating. So that is it. So it's not only the university that is suffering. The whole country is suffering because of what we are doing. If our system is working like Ghana, like South Africa, like Rwanda, we will not be hustling for exchange rate currency to pay school fees outside the country. That's why that is priority.
Let me take you to another aspect. I mean, you say that we have the money. I mean,
yes, definitely. If the will is there, yes.
Yeah, I mean, and I've asked you, this is going to be the third time, whether you think that the government is sincere or not. And I mean, over the last 1 month, yes, when the president said, Minister of Education, go and resolve this matter. Has there been any meeting, any interface between the Minister of Education and ASUU?
We've had informal interface. Informal.
There's nothing formal.
There's not formal.
Have you met the Minister of Education physically?
Yes.
Since then?
Yeah, but it's formal. But what we are expecting is tomorrow to be formal. But this issue we're talking about, in 1992, the new Babangida, we had an agreement like this. And the government said they don't have fund. ASUU tell us how we can raise the fund. And we said, fine. We met and came out with this third fund. And it's easy. Charge the profit of companies operating in Nigeria 2% of their profit. 2%. It came from us. 2% of their profit is to raise the money to fund the university at that time, to increase the funding in university. And the Babangida accepted that. So go and draft the decree. And we did. And that's the origin today of that.
Do you have a possibility to raise more funds?
On this one again, look, in 2019, the Federal Ministry of Education and Federal Ministry of Finance came out with a conference, on a conference on how to raise funds for the university. And we also submitted a paper that we have done before on how to raise funds. And we all accepted. And that document is still there with the Minister of Education. It's there with the Minister of Finance. But now she's implementing it and forgot education. Increase it. Let me finish. Now they are going to start taxing, what do you call it? Taxing this phone call, what the communication, this new tax they're talking about. It's part of our proposal. They should use that account to fund education. Go and check, it's there. But now they are trying to implement it. But they don't think of the author. People who generated that thing, they forgot them. And what's to use for? They forgot it.
I mean, are you...
And these are the things we are talking about. These are how you can fund education.
Prof, are you worried about the dovetailing effect? Because one of the things that the minister raised was that if ASUU raises this, SANU will raise it, NASU will raise it, all other the polytechnics lecturers, all other bodies also will raise it and threaten government. Do you think that is sustainable? That was the question that you raised.
Let me put it this way. Check all over the world. Check all over the world. The only job that is competitive worldwide, you need people from all over the world to do, is lecturing, academics. Two, how much are they paying in such establishment as NNPC? So establishment at Central Bank, NIFDA, how much are they paying lecturers? How much are they paying the staff? When they were increasing those salaries, did they ever thought that there are other MDAs that will come to look for increment? So when you are looking at something, look, you don't need to bulk things together. Nigerian academics are leaving this country. You are aware of that. Doctors are leaving. Because this is a special area. You want to develop your system. And when you are talking about increment of salary, you don't look at others. You look at what is the world average. What is the salary regime for a lecturer in Africa? These are what you look at.
I mean, would you suggest that maybe the federal government divests its ownership of some of these universities?
To?
I mean, maybe to private bodies or to other... Because the question is whether or not federal government has been able to effectively run these universities. If not, maybe there should be a new thinking about the ownership of these institutions.
No. This our money is Nigerians' money. This money we're talking about is not the president's money. It's not the senator's money. It's Nigerians' money. And every Nigerian child have a right to education.
But do you think that the private institutions or private universities are better run than the public universities?
Look, let me tell you, and you can check. Go and check the private universities and compare them to BUK. Go and check them. Let me give you an example. Today, when we were in school and we have good private universities, we were well funded. When things were working well, even in the primary secondary schools, JAM never gave a cutoff point of less than 180, 200. Today, they're taking 120. Because the private people have bastardized the secondary primary school. So that people cannot pass again to enter university. You now take a person who failed JAM and admit in private universities. And these people who fail, who score 120, 130 in private university, they are the one coming out with first class. Where's the problem? Cash and carry. You are looking for market. And the best way to market your university is to produce first class. But in the government universities, the standard are adhered to. So what I'm saying, in fact, look, where can Ghana run their university? Ghana, we say in 1980s, early 80s, we say Ghana must go, is it not? Ghana must go. How are they running our university and Nigeria cannot do the same? In South Africa, how are they running their universities? In Germany, because people say America and whatever. In Germany, how are they running their university? People say in America they pay school fees. Let me ask you something. If you're an American and you're a Briton, if you lose your job today, government takes care of your pay. Is it not true? Is it happening in Nigeria? So what I say now that you now have a school, a university, where the son of the rich will attend, and the son of ordinary people will not attend.
Let me ask about the IPPIS.
Yes.
And in 2014, there is a document that surfaced now, a letter from the president of ASUU at the time, addressed to the president of ASUU, signed by the Accountant General of the Federation at the time, saying that IPPIS should be integrated. Where did things go wrong? From 2014, that's the letter right there on the screen.
No, if you read it very well, that's not what it says. Where it says that IPPIS cannot take care of university, read it fully, you see it. That IPPIS cannot accommodate university, and that there should be a tripartite party made up of government, the unions, and one agency there to work out a model, a solution that can accommodate university. Read the last paragraph.
The second to that. He said one of the joint decision reached is the need to set up tripartite committee of the labor unions in the university, ASUU, NASU, SANU, and NAT, the representatives of the pro-chancellors and federal government, to develop alternative solutions that will achieve the noble objectives of IPPIS and at the same time accommodate the peculiarities of the Nigerian universities.
That was 2014. That was the origin. When they came with this IPPIS, we told them it cannot accommodate university. And that time they are cathedral then. And the person in charge of IPPIS, when we met and finished discussing, and when they found out the weakness in IPPIS, in terms of university, they agreed we should have a different solution. And they say, each union bring 3 nominees. Government will bring their own, and then we'll develop alternative that can take care of the universities. In 2014, we sent our name. You can see them there. A.B. Bafa, Abdul, and Gungula. From that time to 2017, they never returned to us. They didn't do it. Just when that lady retired.
But UTAS, as far as universities lecturers are concerned, is ready. And
it's ready, and
UTAS is, of course, the university lecturers developed
it, and it's the best. My happiness today about this our strike, that for the first time they have tested IPPIS. For the first time, it came in 2006. It was never tested. We were using it. You know why? Because the minister then of finance brought it, who came from World Bank, brought it and said you must use it. Untested. You know that minister of finance, untested, until the committee set up, chaired by the head chief of staff. We all agreed that we should set the 3 to test and take the best one for universities. The 3 was tested. They are afraid to release the result now. But I'm happy that the minister of communication and digital economy have been able to come out to say that there were errors in there, and I commend him for that. And that there are errors in IPPIS, multiple errors. And we had.
But what's the percentage of tests of UTAS?
We have done that, yours? And from what? Let them release the result. It will tell us. UTAS came distant first.
In all of the payment platforms.
Out of the 3.
So NASU can use that platform.
Can SANU use university? Let me also tell you that we and SANU, NASU, we don't have problem again. We are a unity now that we
you understand that there is a faction of the university lecturers who are insisting.
We don't have any faction. We don't.
They're already talking that they want to go back to the classroom.
You see, whoever is that doing that, they are trying to use them against us. You see, for you to have a union in a country like this that can come to you and speak, it has to be registered.
Let me allow you to listen to Mr. Festus Keyamo again. Let's refresh our memories about what he said, and I'd like you to anchor on that, on a response on what he said.
ASUU now put their percentage of their salary, some increase as to more than 100% to 100 and something percent. It now came up to an additional 560 billion naira on top of the normal 412 billion that the federal government was already paying for using to pay their salaries and their emoluments. They added another 560 billion to that bill. And then that does not even include things like their hazard allowance and all those other little allowances. All those allowances also came to another additional 170 billion. And so the entire bill came up to 1.2 trillion or thereabouts. Meanwhile, you had before, even before this situation, a situation where the federal government was already spending 50% of its overheads on salaries to pay them. That was the previous bill, 50% of its overheads regarding salaries and emoluments to pay university teachers their wages and allowances. So what the federal government did when they brought this, proposal from the NIMI Briggs Committee, they said, well, this is unrealistic. You know what? You need to bring in other, they still went back to the same position where they had to bring in other critical stakeholders.
That's the Minister of State for Labour, Mr. Festus Keyamo. I'd like you to anchor and give us your final thought on all of this. Where do we go from here? We are tired. We want the students to go back to the classrooms. We want our education sector to get back on its feet. What must be done now?
1, the issue of IPPIS and UTAS have to put to rest because the tests have been done. As I agree with the Chief of Staff, UTAS will be implemented. should be implemented to cover the university. 2, you see, if this government is serious, this strike will not last 1 or 2 weeks. If they have come to, if you recall, the federal government was going to go on strike in November. We didn't start it because NIREC came in and intervened. NIREC, and we considered to them. They met with the president. He set up a committee headed by chief of staff that should resolve this thing quickly. And the world saw it in the press. They did nothing. The president set up this Muzali committee. We met with them, finished, nothing. They didn't come back. They set up this Nimibris committee. It's now more than 3 months. 2 months we finished negotiating with them. They didn't come back. President directed the Minister of Education, finish within 2 weeks. 2 weeks has passed, they didn't come back. So we are not. Let me tell you what they are doing. We feel sad because what they are going to do now, if we resume tomorrow, in the next 4 years, I cannot go on leave. You know why? I'm going to cover the backlog of work that I should have done while on strike. If you look at the past 15 years, I've not ever gone on leave. You can check in my university. For those times we are on strike, when we come back, what will do the backlog? In my university, Michael Okpara, you can go and check. We have not lost 1 year. We've not lost 1 set of students. We'll come back and do the backlog of work. When we come back, we will start 2021-22 session. When we finish 2022, let me tell you, a year in a university is maximum of 32 weeks, 16 weeks per semester. So you have another 20-something weeks that you're going to use for your leave, for your research, and what have you. Now we sacrifice all those things now to cover the backlog. So we are not happy. When we finish now, they deliberately release it, delay for 6 months.
Nigerians are definitely pained by what is happening. So it's a national embarrassment.
We are pained.
What the minister said there.
Yes.
What's your brief reaction on that?
Well, the minister, I think people now, when they are appointed as a spokesman for anybody, you start saying anything you like. They don't think. What he's saying is not reasoning. Is he a minister of finance? Is he the minister of finance? 2, is the minister, have you attended any of our meetings? You see, these people, by the time with that politics, this minister was one of those who were, when you have politics, you start talking, you don't look at your data. They should produce the data, he should produce the data of what he's talking about.
Do you give us assurances, Prof, that you're going into that meeting with an open mind tomorrow, yourself and your colleagues?
If we go to that meeting tomorrow and government said what you negotiated, what do you call it, collective bargaining, what we are willing to sign,
Thank you so much, Prof. We are hoping that it will come and you and the government will come around the table and resolve this. Perhaps this week, let everything be resolved. This is too much for our nation. We have an economic problem. Education is on its knees. This is too much. We cannot bear it any longer.
Why we're having this economic problem is because we don't want to do the needful. We are neglecting our education. And that's what you don't have refineries, you don't have companies working. They are all broken down because you don't want to fix your educational system. And if they start working, your system will work.
Speak to Truth Power when you get to that table tomorrow. And let things be resolved. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming.